I'm about to reveal the only two specific vitamins that scientifically target the stiffness in your leg arteries and exactly how they restore the blood flow required to warm your feet and stop the heaviness in your calves. You might be familiar with the sensation of your legs feeling like lead weights when you try to walk up a flight of stairs, or perhaps you experience that unnerving pins and needles tingling when you are trying to rest in bed at night. These are not just annoying quirks of getting older. They are the warning lights of compromised circulation and stiffening arteries that can slowly rob you of your ability to walk. While you may have been told to take a daily aspirin or simply walk more, those standard instructions often fail to address the underlying structural problem, the calcification that is hardening your blood vessels like old pipes. There is a precise nutritional way to soften those vessels and open the floodgates of circulation once again. I remember a patient named Thomas, a 73-year-old former mail carrier, who came to my office deeply depressed because he could no longer walk to the end of his driveway without stopping due to a cramping pain in his left calf. He had spent his life walking miles every day, but now his legs felt cold to the touch even in summer, and his doctor had mentioned the frightening term peripheral artery disease. We didn't immediately jump to surgical interventions. Instead, we corrected a specific, long-standing vitamin deficiency that was allowing calcium to build up in his leg arteries instead of his bones. Within 3 months of this targeted nutritional therapy, the warmth returned to his toes, and he was able to walk his dog around the block again without pain, reclaiming the freedom he thought was gone forever. Before we begin, a critical disclaimer. The information I'm sharing today is strictly for educational purposes and should not be considered medical advice. I am not your personal physician and cannot provide individualized medical guidance through this video. Never stop, start, or change any heart medication or blood thinner without first consulting with your doctor. The first and most critical vitamin for restoring leg circulation is vitamin K2, specifically in the form of MK7, which acts as the traffic controller for calcium in your body. Most seniors are terrified of osteoporosis, so they diligently take calcium supplements, but without vitamin K2, that calcium does not know where to go and often ends up depositing itself in the walls of your arteries rather than in your skeletal system. This leads to a condition called vascular calcification, where your flexible blood vessels turn into rigid, chalk-like tubes that cannot expand to let blood flow down to your legs. Vitamin K2 activates a specific protein called matrix GLA protein, or MGP, which acts like a street sweeper, physically scraping that misplaced calcium out of your arterial walls and shuttling it back into your bones where it belongs. I treated a patient named Martha, 78, who had excellent bone density but terrible circulation in her lower legs, resulting in chronically cold feet and skin that looked shiny and thin. She had been taking high doses of calcium for years but had zero vitamin K2 in her diet, essentially turning her arteries into stone. We stopped the excessive calcium supplementation and introduced a high-quality vitamin K2 regimen to activate her body's natural decalcification processes. Over the course of 6 months, her pulses in her ankles became stronger and easier to find. She reported that the deep, aching throb she used to feel in her shins at night had faded, a sign that the microvessels were finally relaxing and allowing oxygenated blood to nourish the tissues. The reason this is the title hero for seniors is that calcification is the primary barrier to blood flow in the aging population. You can take blood thinners to make the fluid less viscous, but if the pipe itself is narrowed by hard calcium deposits, flow will still be restricted. Vitamin K2 addresses the pipe itself. Studies like the famous Rotterdam study have shown that people with the highest dietary intake of vitamin K2 had significantly less arterial calcification and a much lower risk of death from cardiovascular issues. It is not about thinning the blood, it is about restoring the elasticity of the vessel wall so that when your heart pumps, the artery can stretch and surge that blood all the way down to your toes. To incorporate this effectively, you must understand that vitamin K2 is fat-soluble, meaning it requires dietary fat to be absorbed. Taking it with a glass of water on an empty stomach is virtually useless. You should take it with your largest meal of the day, preferably one that contains some healthy fats like olive oil, avocado, or fatty fish. If you are choosing a supplement, look for menaquinone 7 or MK7 derived from natto or chickpeas, as this form stays active in your bloodstream for days, providing a constant cleaning effect on your arteries. A typical dosage discussed in literature is around 100 to 200 micrograms, but this must be cleared with your doctor. The second strategy involves a delicious and practical way to obtain vitamin K2 through your diet, consuming specific aged cheeses like Gouda and Jarlsberg. While we often think of cheese as a guilty pleasure or something to avoid due to cholesterol, these specific varieties are fermented with a unique type of bacteria known as propionibacteria. These bacteria are responsible for the eyes or holes you see in Swiss-style cheeses, and during the fermentation process, they synthesize significant amounts of natural vitamin K2. For a senior who is tired of swallowing pills or wants a whole food approach to improving their circulation, adding a slice of high-quality aged Gouda to their daily routine is an enjoyable and effective intervention. I recall a patient named Albert, 70, who was resistant to taking any more supplements because his pill organizer was already overflowing. He loved food, however, so we looked for dietary levers to help his poor leg circulation. We swapped his processed cheddar slices for genuine aged Gouda and Jarlsberg cheese as a daily snack. He embraced this change enthusiastically, eating a few cubes with an apple every afternoon. While it wasn't a magic bullet overnight, over the course of a year, combined with walking, his symptoms of heaviness improved. He was getting a steady, bioavailable dose of the vitamin his arteries needed, packaged in a food that also provided protein and satiety. The science behind this highlights the importance of the source. Not all cheese is created equal in this regard. Fresh cheeses like mozzarella, cottage cheese, or processed American cheese contain almost no vitamin K2 because they have not undergone the long fermentation process required for the bacteria to do their work. You need to look for semi-hard cheeses that have been aged. The longer the aging process, generally speaking, the higher the concentration of vitamin K2. Furthermore, because the vitamin is fat-soluble and cheese is naturally rich in fat, it comes in a perfect delivery vehicle that ensures your body absorbs nearly every microgram. To get the therapeutic benefit, you do not need to eat a massive amount that would disrupt your caloric balance or salt intake. 1.5 ounces, roughly the size of 2 dominoes, is sufficient to provide a meaningful dose of K2. You can slice it onto whole grain crackers or melt it over roasted vegetables. The key is consistency. Unlike a water-soluble vitamin that you might pee out if you take too much, this fat-soluble vitamin builds up in your tissues over time, slowly reversing the deficit that has been accumulating for decades. It is a slow, steady nutritional investment in your vascular health. The third item on our list is the nuclear option for vitamin K2, natto. This traditional Japanese dish made from fermented soybeans is, without exception, the highest dietary source of vitamin K2 on the planet. A single tablespoon of natto can contain as much vitamin K2 as entire blocks of cheese or bottles of lesser supplements. For seniors with severe circulatory issues, where the legs are consistently cold and the skin is fragile, natto offers a potent, concentrated dose of the nutrient required to activate MGP and start scrubbing calcium from the vessel walls. However, it comes with a challenge. Its texture is sticky and stringy, and its smell is pungent, often described as similar to strong cheese or old socks. I remember a patient named Keiko, 82, who had maintained incredible vascular health and walked 3 miles a day well into her 80s. She attributed her leg strength and lack of varicose veins to her lifelong habit of eating natto for breakfast over rice. On the flip side, I had a patient named Bill, 74, who was desperate to avoid surgery for his arterial blockages. He tried natto once and couldn't stomach the texture. For Bill, we had to find a compromise, using a standardized extract of natto enzyme in supplement form. But for those who can acquire the taste, the whole food offers a synergistic effect of enzymes and vitamins that no pill can fully replicate. The power of natto goes beyond just K2. It also contains an enzyme called nattokinase. This enzyme has been studied for its ability to dissolve fibrin, a protein involved in blood clot formation. As we age, our blood can become thicker and more prone to forming microclots that impede flow in the tiny capillaries of the toes and feet. Nattokinase acts as a natural blood thinner, though much milder than prescription drugs, that helps keep the blood flowing smoothly through narrowed vessels. So, by eating natto, you are getting a dual benefit: vitamin K2 to open the pipes and nattokinase to help the fluid move through them. If you are brave enough to try this superfood, you can find it in the frozen section of most Asian grocery stores. It typically comes in small styrofoam containers. To prepare it, you remove the film, add the included mustard and soy sauce packets, and stir it vigorously for about a minute. The stirring is crucial as it activates the sticky strings that contain the beneficial enzymes. Most people eat it over hot rice to mitigate the texture. If the taste is too much, mixing it with green onions, kimchi, or a raw egg yolk, if safe for you, can mask the flavor. Even eating it 2 or 3 times a week provides a massive protective benefit for your leg arteries. A repetition of the caution is necessary here. Because natto is so potent, it acts very similarly to blood-thinning medications. If you are already taking a prescription anticoagulant, you must absolutely avoid natto unless your doctor explicitly tells you otherwise. The interaction is significant and can destabilize your medication levels. For those not on such drugs, however, it is the most powerful food-based tool available for vascular rejuvenation. The fourth crucial element, and the second specific vitamin in our protocol, is vitamin B3, specifically in the form of niacin. While vitamin K2 works on the structure of the arteries, niacin works on the function of the blood vessels, acting as a powerful natural vasodilator. Vasodilation simply means the widening of blood vessels. Niacin stimulates the release of prostaglandins, which cause the smooth muscle cells in your arteries to relax. When these muscles relax, the vessel opens up, the diameter increases, and blood can flow more freely to the extremities. For seniors suffering from cold feet or Raynaud's phenomenon, niacin is like turning up the thermostat from the inside out. I treated a patient named Robert, 69, who suffered from painful chilblains on his toes every winter because his circulation was so sluggish that the skin would become damaged from the cold. He wore 2 pairs of socks and still complained of freezing feet. We introduced a niacin protocol, starting with a low dose to manage the side effects. Within weeks, he experienced a sensation he hadn't felt in years, actual warmth radiating down to his toes. His chilblains healed because the blood was finally delivering the oxygen and nutrients required to repair the skin tissue. He wasn't just masking the cold, he had physically opened the supply lines. It is important to understand the niacin flush. When you take genuine nicotinic acid, the active form of B3, you will likely experience a flushing sensation where your face, neck, and chest turn red and feel warm or prickly for about 20 minutes. This can be alarming if you aren't expecting it, but in the context of circulation, this flush is actually visual proof that the capillaries are opening up. However, for many seniors, this sensation is uncomfortable. While flush-free niacin exists, inositol hexanocatonate, it is generally less effective for improving lipid profiles in circulation than the flushing kind. The goal is to find a balance, using a dose that improves flow without causing distress. To use niacin effectively for leg circulation, you should start low and slow. A typical starting point might be as low as 50 milligrams taken with food. Taking it with a meal helps blunt the intensity of the flush. Over time, as your body adapts, the flushing sensation decreases, but the circulatory benefits remain. You can slowly increase the dose under medical guidance. Some seniors find that taking a small baby aspirin 30 minutes before the niacin, if their doctor approves aspirin use, can significantly reduce the flushing intensity while maintaining the vasodilation benefits. The fifth strategy shifts our focus from supplements back to the grocery store, specifically targeting foods rich in vitamin B3, niacin, and its precursor, tryptophan. While taking a niacin pill works fast, it can cause that uncomfortable flushing sensation we discussed. A gentler, more sustained way to keep your blood vessels dilated is to consume foods high in tryptophan, an amino acid that your liver naturally converts into niacin. Lean poultry, such as chicken breast and turkey, as well as tuna, are exceptional sources. By prioritizing these proteins, you provide your body with a steady trickle of niacin throughout the day, maintaining arterial width without the sudden shock of a high-dose supplement. I recall a patient named Sarah, 72, who had a sensitive stomach and simply could not tolerate the niacin supplements. Even the smallest dose made her feel nauseous and flushed. However, her feet were chronically cold and we needed a solution. We restructured her diet to include a serving of roasted turkey or light tuna salad every single day for lunch. Turkey is famous for its tryptophan content. It's what makes you sleepy after Thanksgiving, but in a daily context, it acts as a fuel source for niacin production. Over a few months, Sarah reported that her midday energy levels were more stable and, more importantly, her feet didn't feel like blocks of ice by the evening. She was effectively medicating her circulation through her lunch. The biological process here is fascinating and beneficial for seniors. Your body is incredibly smart. When you ingest tryptophan, it converts a portion of it into niacin to meet your metabolic needs. This conversion process is slow and regulated by the body, meaning you get exactly what you need without overwhelming your system. Furthermore, these high-protein foods are essential for maintaining the muscle mass in your legs. Remember, your blood vessels run through your muscles. If the muscle tissue is weak or wasting away, it cannot support the vasculature properly. By eating lean poultry and tuna, you are feeding the muscle and the blood vessels simultaneously. To implement this, aim for a 3 to 4 ounce serving of these proteins at least once a day. Canned tuna is a convenient, shelf-stable option for seniors who may not cook a full meal every day. Look for tuna packed in water rather than oil to keep the calorie count lower, or olive oil for an extra heart-healthy fat boost. If you choose poultry, removing the skin significantly reduces the saturated fat while keeping the protein and tryptophan content high. You can prepare a batch of chicken salad at the start of the week and have it ready for easy lunches, ensuring you never miss your daily dose of vascular support. The sixth item on our list is not a food or pill, but a mechanical activation of your body's second heart, the calf muscle pump. Your heart pumps blood down to your legs with ease thanks to gravity, but getting that blood back up against gravity requires help. That help comes from your calf muscles. Every time you contract your calf, it squeezes the deep veins in your lower leg, shooting blood back up toward your heart and allowing fresh, oxygenated blood to take its place. For many seniors, this second heart is dormant because of sitting too much. Waking it up is the single most effective same-day lever you can pull to stop the pooling of blood and the heavy aching sensation in your lower limbs. I remember a patient named George, 79, who spent most of his day sitting in his recliner watching news programs. By 5 p.m., his ankles would be swollen to twice their normal size, and his legs felt heavy and dead. He wore compression socks, but they were a struggle to put on. I taught him a simple habit. Every time a commercial break came on TV, he had to stand up behind his chair and do 10 calf raises. He didn't need weights or gym equipment. He just lifted his heels off the ground and lowered them slowly. Within 1 week, the evening swelling in his ankles had decreased by half. He wasn't just exercising, he was manually pumping the stagnant fluids out of his legs. The mechanism is pure hydraulics. Your veins have tiny one-way valves that prevent blood from flowing backward. When you sit still, the blood pools behind these valves, stretching the vein walls and leaking fluid into the surrounding tissue. That's the swelling and heaviness you feel. When you do a calf raise, the muscle belly expands and compresses the vein, forcing the valves open and pushing the fluid upward. It is exactly like squeezing a tube of toothpaste. For a senior with compromised circulation, relying solely on the heart in the chest is not enough. You must recruit the muscles in the legs to complete the circuit. This is why even people with clear arteries can have bad circulation if their calf pump is weak. To do this correctly, safety and balance are the priority. Stand behind a sturdy chair or at your kitchen sink and hold on lightly for stability. Rise up onto your tiptoes as high as you comfortably can, hold for a split second to feel the squeeze in your calves, and then lower your heels back down to the floor slowly. Do not rush. The downward phase is just as important as the upward phase. Aim for 3 sets of 10 repetitions spread throughout the day. You can do them while brushing your teeth, washing dishes, or waiting for the kettle to boil. This snack exercise approach prevents fatigue while keeping the blood moving constantly. The 7th strategy is a specific protocol known as interval walking, which is designed to trigger a miraculous biological process called angiogenesis, the growth of new blood vessels. If your main arteries are clogged with calcium, which we are addressing with vitamin K2, your body has the amazing ability to grow collateral vessels, which are like natural bypass roads around the blockage. However, these new roads only grow if they are signaled to do so. The signal they need is a specific type of demand. Interval walking involves walking until you feel mild to moderate discomfort, claudication, in your legs, stopping to rest until the pain goes away, and then walking again. This cycle sends a chemical distress signal that tells your body, "We need more blood here," triggering the growth of new capillaries. I treated a patient named Eleanor, 75, who was terrified of the pain she felt in her calves after walking just 1 block. Her instinct was to stop walking entirely to avoid the pain. This was the worst possible reaction, as it told her body that no extra blood flow was needed, causing her vessels to wither further. I explained to her that the pain, so long as it wasn't chest pain or severe cramping, was actually the signal we wanted. We set up a program: walk for 3 minutes, rest for 2. Repeat 5 times. Initially, it was a struggle, but after 3 months of this stop-and-go routine, she found she could walk 4 blocks, then 6. She hadn't cleared the main blockage in that short time. She had grown a network of tiny new vessels that were bypassing it. The science here is robust. This technique is often formally prescribed as supervised exercise therapy for peripheral artery disease. It works by inducing a mild, controlled state of hypoxia, low oxygen in the leg muscles. This hypoxic state releases growth factors like VEGF, vascular endothelial growth factor. These growth factors act like fertilizer for your blood vessels. By pushing just to the point of discomfort, you are effectively ordering your body to construct new infrastructure. It is a long-term lever, taking weeks or months to show full results, but it is the only non-surgical way to physically increase the number of pathways for blood to reach your feet. To practice this safely, you must listen to your body. Start on a flat surface, like a sidewalk or a shopping mall corridor. Walk at a normal pace until you feel a 3 out of 5 on the pain scale. Noticeable, but not excruciating. Stop immediately and stand still or sit until the pain subsides completely. Then start again. Aim for a total of 30 minutes of this walk-rest-walk cycle 3 times a week. It is not about speed or distance. It is about hitting that threshold of discomfort and recovering. You are training your physiology, not just your muscles. A critical caution: this advice applies to leg pain, claudication, only. If you experience chest pain, shortness of breath, dizziness, or palpitations, stop immediately and seek medical attention. We are stressing the legs, not the heart. Always clear this exercise program with your cardiologist, especially if you have a history of heart attacks or angina. This habit turns your daily walk into a powerful medical therapy. The final strategy is a soothing, external therapy to support your internal efforts. A warm water soak for your feet and lower legs before bed. While vitamin B3, niacin, works chemically to dilate your vessels from the inside, warm water works physically to dilate them from the outside. Heat causes the smooth muscles in your vessel walls to relax, instantly increasing the diameter of the veins and arteries. This is particularly important at night, as blood flow naturally slows down during sleep, which can lead to nocturnal leg cramps and the sensation of freezing feet that keeps many seniors awake. By artificially warming the limbs before getting under the covers, you give your circulation a head start that can last into the night. I recall a patient named James, 81, who suffered from terrible insomnia because his feet felt like blocks of ice the moment he lay down. He would wear heavy wool socks, but they didn't help because socks only trap existing heat, and his feet had no heat to trap. He was essentially insulating an ice cube. I advised him to soak his feet in a basin of warm water for 15 minutes before drying them and putting on the socks. The difference was immediate. The water transferred heat deep into the tissue, opening the capillaries. When he put the socks on afterward, they trapped that new heat, keeping his feet warm for hours. He slept through the night for the first time in months, which in turn helped lower his stress levels and improve his overall heart health. The key distinction here is warm, not hot. Many seniors have reduced sensation in their feet due to neuropathy or diabetes. If the water is too hot, you can suffer a serious burn without realizing it until it is too late. The water should be tested with your elbow or a thermometer, not your toes. It should be pleasantly warm, around 98 to 100 degrees Fahrenheit, similar to body temperature or slightly above. This gentle warmth is enough to trigger vasodilation without damaging the fragile skin or risking a thermal injury. Adding Epsom salts, magnesium sulfate, can offer an added benefit, as magnesium can be absorbed through the skin and help relax tight muscles, though the primary benefit here is the heat itself. To make this a routine, buy a simple plastic basin or use your bathtub if you can enter and exit safely. Soak for 10 to 15 minutes while reading or listening to music. Thoroughly dry your feet afterwards, especially between the toes, to prevent fungal infections. Apply a good moisturizer to keep the skin from cracking, and then immediately put on a pair of loose, warm socks. This seals in the thermal energy. Do not use electric heating pads while sleeping, as these can cause burns if you fall asleep. The warm water soak is a safer, active method of heating the tissue. We have covered a comprehensive protocol to restore life and warmth to your legs, centered on the two powerhouse vitamins, vitamin K2 to clean the calcium from your stiff arteries, and vitamin B3, niacin, to physically widen the pipes and let the blood flow. We supported these nutritional pillars with the smart food choices of aged cheese and lean poultry, the second heart activation of calf raises, the vessel growing power of interval walking, and the gentle assistance of warm water therapy. Circulation issues in your senior years are not a destiny you simply have to accept. They are often a sign of specific physiological needs that have gone unmet. By addressing the calcification of your vessels and the tone of your arteries, you are treating the root cause, not just the symptom. You have the power to improve your mobility, reduce your pain, and keep walking confidently well into your 80s and 90s. If you know someone over 50 who could benefit from this, share this video and subscribe for more simple health tips.